We're now into turn 6 in Saratoga, and it's a 1 o'clock turn, 1 p.m. And the British player wins initiative this time, so he starts his movement, and Baron Riesdassel advances along that river road to the top of the map with von Retz's regiment into the forest along Mill Creek, along with the 2nd Chasseurs on his left, and von Specht marches along the river road too, with the rest of the Brunswickers to his rear. And I don't have a photo of that action. Then Brigadier General Fraser moves into contact with Colonel Morgan's rifles on the western edge of the farm. And as you can see, the American rifles were a bit overextended. I commented to this before. And at the same time, Burgoyne's forces move against Major Dearborn on the northern part of Freeman's farm. So a battle ensues. Hall's artillery fires behind the Mill Creek at von Specht's regiment and misses. And while Hall, I think, has only 2 cannon in that unit, so not surprising that it didn't hit anything. Then Colonel Morgan's men use rifle fire, because they have the little R symbol, to engage British Rangers, which are outflanked them on the south, and Morgan's rifle does get first fire advantage, and they hit the Rangers, which subsequently retreat, so that worked out very good for Morgan. Then Fraser attacks Colonel Morgan west of Freeman's farm. The British choose the tactic to attack in echelon, while Morgan refuses the flank. The attack is a 3-1, but it turns out to have a +3 modifier. So I would say things are not looking good for the Americans, and perhaps Morgan realizes his mistake of being too far forward. Nonetheless, both sides end up pinned. Then just to the east of this, Lieutenant General Burgoyne attacks Dearborn's regiment, and this one is at 4-1. Burgoyne chooses a frontal assault, and the Americans attempt to withdraw, which is the worst case scenario for the Americans. So what happens is Dearborn becomes disrupted and then has to fall back toward the south. And subsequently, the American Army morale drops to 13. Incidentally, 13 is still high morale. So both sides are high morale at this point in the battle and have modifiers for this. Then on the British left, way up along the Hudson River, Baron Rieddassel decides to wait on any further action against the American position on the Mill Creek. Then you can see in the photo, Colonel Morgan doesn't have to think too long before he orders his men to fall back toward Dearborn. But you remember, Morgan's rifles were pinned, so they're going to have to pay a morale point to be able to leave. So they drop to 12, but that's still high morale. Dearborn also sees the wisdom of falling back to the woods, so he moves back, but he's not pinned, so he doesn't have a penalty in that sense. But he is disrupted, so his forces can only really move 1 hex. Then Benedict Arnold rushes forward. I believe he's heard the sound of the guns, and he attempts to rally Dearborn. And, the 1st New Hampshire Regiment moves along the track into the Barber wheat field. The 2nd New Hampshire Regiment moves into the forest to the west of Chatfield's farm. And Gates units are starting to form up along the Mill Creek. Dearborn's regiment eventually rallies, and this increases American morale back to 13 points. But there's no combat on the American part of the turn. That brings turn 6 to a close. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned if you'd like to see what happens on turn 7.